Mufti ruling. Is he the most suitable candidate? Will he lead an Islamic life and raise Islamic grandchildren for you? I don't know about that. I cannot guarantee that. But I can only tell you that it's valid for me to perform the nikah. After that, how he leads his life and how your daughter leads the life, that's up to them. They have to make the right decisions. In any case, it was not the story. He was a 16-year-old boy, and he looked like a 12-year-old. He had a very baby face, young little boy, but he had a Muslim friend. And this Muslim friend, he had the interest in Islam. He was impressed by his character, impressed by his akhlaq, and spending time with him, he eventually asked questions about Islam. Now, if it was many of the other Muslim youth, they would be ignorant about Islam themselves. They're so shaky in their own faith, they would feel scared and timid to share their faith. And they probably would not be a good example for him to learn about the deen of Islam, and they would be left, and the person would be left without a correct understanding. But alhamdulillah, this young boy, he rose up to the challenge, and he explained the deen in such a manner that this friend accepted Islam and came to the masjid. MashaAllah. So, what does this teach us? That with our good character, with our beautiful akhlaq, we can prove to the people that our deen is not something to be afraid of. Actually, even if you look in the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, in the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam made 13 years of untiring effort in Makkah al-Mukarramah to spread Islam. How many people converted? Handful. Very few people. Then Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam likewise spent 7 years in Medina al-Munawwarah trying to invite towards Tawheed. Still the number of believers were very few. In the Battle of Badr there were 313. In the Battle of Uhud 700. Where is 700 compared to the entire Arabian Peninsula or the world, as Rasulullah ﷺ has been sent for the guidance of entire mankind. But then, after the Sulh Hudaybiyah, in the 6th year of Hijrah, from the 7th year till the 10th year, in these 3 years, if you plot a graph of the conversion to Islam and those who have accepted Islam, we'll see that it rises sharply. In the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari radiyallahu anhu says, كنا يوم الحديبية 1400 فقال لنا النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنتم اليوم خير من أهل الأرض. When the Bay'at al-Ridwan and the pledge was taking place under the tree of Hudaybiyah, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Jabir ibn Abdullah radiyallahu anhu narrates that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam told us, you 1400 who have gathered here, you are the best of the entire creation. I was focusing on the number. How many there were? 1400. So from second year of Hijrah, 313. Now, 6th year of Hijrah, only 1400. Very small increase in the number of those who accepted Islam. And this was majority of the Sahaba. Very few were left behind. Most of them were there because this was the Umrah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the Umrah leader. The Prophet of Allah is going to Umrah. Who would not want to join him? Especially the Muhajirin. They had left their homes and their beloved city of Makkah. 6 years they did not see it, the Kaaba, and they had a burning desire to go back. 1400 only. But then, from the 7th year, we find in the 8th year now, the Fath Makkah. How many Sahaba entered Fath Makkah? 10,000 Sahaba. And from there, from the 8th to the 10th, and the 10th year of Rasulullah's life, in the Hajjat al-Wada', how many Sahaba were there? 124,000. So, we went from 1400 to 124,000. So quickly, so rapidly. The graph shot up. So the scholars of Hadith and the scholars of Seerah, they contemplated over this. And they said, what is the reason? How did this occur? Imam Shahabuddin Zuhri, rahmatullah alayh, who was a great muhaddith from among the tabi'een, the second generation after the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum ajma'in, a great muhaddith and scholar of hadith, and one of the great scholars of Medina al-Munawwarah, among the grand teachers of Imam Malik. He says that his conclusion, and which is corroborated by many other scholars as well, is that up to the signing of the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, there was a state of fear. And there was a state of war taking place between Makkah and Medina. Between the Mushrikeen of Makkah and the Muslimin of Medina. And that's why There was no trade, there was no travel. The Muslims were living in their own area, in their own state of Medina. They could not interact with the other tribes. And the other tribes did not have an opportunity to see the beautiful character, to see the beautiful akhlaq and the mu'amalat and the dealings of the Muslims. But after this treaty of Hudaybiyah was signed, for the first time, the Muslims were able to interact with their neighbors, with the neighboring tribes. And they were allowed to intermingle with the Muslims, the mushrikeen of the Arab tribes. And they witnessed the honesty of the Muslims, their fair dealing, their compassion. They witnessed their sole reliance on Allah. They saw their tawakkul on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They saw all these beautiful attributes. And this is when the phenomena occurred. وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا. And you will see the people entering into the fold of Islam in large numbers. So this is the beautiful lesson we can learn from the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the opposite we see as well, that in Spain, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given the Muslims and the Arabs of Spain authority and domination over the land. They ruled Spain for 900 years. They were not a minority there, they were the actual victors and conquerors of Spain. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given them beautiful architecture. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given them sciences and arts. In all material fields they were progressing, as well as in the religious sphere. They had beautiful masajid. So many great scholars, Ibn Hazm, Qurtubi, Shatibi. When we learn the Qira'at Sab'a, there's this poem, Hirzul Amani wa Wajhut Tahani, which is known as Qasida Lamiyya as well. The entire poem, every line ends with a lam. And also in Ilm al-Rasam, Aqidatu Atrab al-Qasaid, known as Qasida Ra'iyya. Every poem ends with a Ra. And very complex subject of Qira'ah in the Rasam of the Quran is explained in this poetry. It's conveyed through poetry. The text itself is a poem. It's a Qasida written by Imam Shatibi rahmatullah alayh, who was a blind scholar from Islamic Spain. There is no book of tafsir, no translation even of the Quran anyone can undertake in any language without benefiting from and referencing Imam Qurtubi rahmatullah alayh's Al-Jami' li Ahkam al-Quran, which is one of the top tafsirs. If someone has to ask you, or any scholar, what are the top 5 tafsirs ever written, or top 4 tafsirs, Imam Qurtubi would be placed in the top 5, top 4 tafsirs ever written in any language. And the author was, again, from Islamic Spain. So there are so many scholars that were in Spain, so many madaris that were in Spain, so many masajid. The rulers themselves were Muslims. But eventually they forgot the purpose of their existence, and they became insular and worried about and in fact, beyond not worrying about others, they started squabbling and fighting among themselves, which has always been a curse in our history. And because of that, what happened is that they lost the entire country. The Spanish Inquisition took place, and the non-Muslims killed them, murdered them, and forced them to flee from the land and expel them. And the beautiful Masjid al-Qurtuba now became a church. So we cannot be content with our masajid, that we have a very beautiful Dar es Salaam Masjid. I cannot be content, you cannot be content, because the Masjid al-Qurtuba was more beautiful than this Dar es Salaam Masjid. And we cannot be content with our madrasas, with our academies, because they were greater scholars. Imam Qurtubi, Shaykh al-Akbar, Ibn Hazm, the author, the great scholar, Zahiri fiqh, one of the great scholars of the Zahiri madhab, Sahib al-Muhalla, and all of these great scholars were greater than us. We are mere students of knowledge. But none of this helped them in the long run. They lost the whole country, even though they were in a much better position than we are. Why? Because they did not show that beautiful Islam to the non-Muslims. They did not interact with them with the beautiful akhlaq. This is our responsibility. We have to take this to heart, make this intention, firm intention, that we will do outreach. Just to share with you as we conclude some of the outreach activities that we were able to do with your help and the help of the volunteers, may Allah reward them, is that all of the officials in the government, we took different gifts and cards and went and spoke to them, including the sheriff, of DuPage County. I personally went, and some of the brothers also went with me. We went and spoke to the inspector, the chief inspector, who is in charge of the patrol division of the sheriff department. We had a meeting with him. We went and spoke to the county, DuPage County chief of the entire DuPage County administration. We had a meeting with him, and we invited them to the masjid as well. We went to all the different departments in the county office with different gifts. We went to the church here. I went and we gave a gift and invited them to an open house at the masjid. And all of these neighbors in the apartments, in these condos here, and all the neighbors on the street here, the car dealer, all the people you see when you're entering, we took gift baskets and chocolates and we invited them. We are also holding, inshallah, we are going to be hosting this neighborhood open house. This card, we printed this card and gave it to all of them. Happy holidays from your neighbors at Dar Islam Foundation. You are cordially invited January 9th at 12 p.m. for a neighborhood open house. Refreshments will be served, open question and answer session, and RSVP is there. So we have these cards on the way out. We don't have an unlimited number of these printed because they're beautifully printed cards with pictures and everything. So if you have co-workers, if you have neighbors that you want to invite to the open house, don't just pick up a random, let me pick up another 10 or 5 of them. If you have people you are seriously interested in inviting them, then do pick up a card and take it and present it to them so that they can inshallah also come to the masjid. All the studies and all of the surveys unanimously agree and indicate that those Americans who have a one-on-one relationship with Muslims have far lesser degrees of hatred or fear of Muslims than those who have no interaction with Muslims. It's fear of the unknown, fear of what they are being told. I could not personally reach all of the neighbors myself, so we had some volunteers and students help us. And they came back with stories that we are at the door, we are knocking, and we hear the television talking about Muslims are terrorists. That's what they're hearing, and they're afraid to knock on the door. And they knock on the door, and there you go, there is a Muslim who is standing with a gift, with a box of Fannie Mae candies. So the person will be forced and compelled to think, I'm just hearing this, I'm watching this, that they are so bad, but what do I see here? There's a Muslim giving me chocolate at the same time. And inshallah, as we say, then, and this is agreed upon reality, that actions speak louder than words. And he will inshallah believe in the action that he sees and witnesses rather than believing those words that he's hearing on the screen. So we have to make this decision. Whatever field that we may be involved in, we all have to take the responsibility, each and every single one of us. And this was something we always had to do, but the time now it has become even more incumbent upon us. We cannot sit back and say that there will be some group of scholars who will take care of this, or some Muslim public action committee will take care of this, or CARE will be fighting for us, or someone else will be fighting for us. Each one of us has been selected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be ambassador of the deen. And I'll conclude by saying that there are those who may be engaged in interfaith, engaged in dealing with others and inviting others, but themselves are not practicing the deen. And there are those who are practicing the deen, but are not engaging with others. This is a very sad situation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu udkhulu fi silmi kafa. O those who believe, enter into Islam completely. So, wholly, completely, kafa. So those who are doing their own ibadat, they might not be missing any tahajjud prayer, they are fasting on Mondays and Thursdays, they're doing nawafil as well. But the non-Muslim neighbors, they have no knowledge about that. They don't see that. They need to know that you are concerned about their welfare as well. At a humanitarian level, we have to engage with them and help in those causes that Islam stands for as well. So they don't see that side of you. On the other hand, there may be those who are very proactive in the political field or in other fields, but what they're doing is that they themselves are not demonstrating Islam. They're afraid to mention that they are Muslims. So they are not adding glory to Islam. They are just making it easier perhaps for themselves, for their own existence, but they're not helping the Muslim cause. So those who are involved in outreach, they need to start practicing. And those who are practicing the deen of Islam need to engage in outreach. And we have to do both. We have no option but to excel in both fields. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for us to overcome all of these challenges and take this inshallah to heart. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all of our youth and give them the strength of iman. If we feel that, I cannot engage, I'm a very insular person, I'm introvert, I don't like to talk, that is not an option anymore. It's very difficult for me. What do I have in common with the church people? What do I have in common with the people in the government? We went to the fire station, we gave it to the fire chief. It's easier for you perhaps to engage with them than myself. If you want to talk about football, sports, you can talk about, I don't even know anything about sports. I have nothing in common for me to talk to them. But this is something I realize is high time I need to do. I have to do, I have no option. So I took the courage and I went to these people. And I found it to be very, very beneficial. So I encourage all of you as well that it may be easier for you to communicate. You may be, inshallah, even easier for you to interact with them. So do not shy away. Take the opportunity. And if you feel that you don't have enough confidence because you don't know enough about the deen of Islam, you're not able to speak, then it's high time to pick up books. Come to the different classes that are offered by ulama in the area. There are so many opportunities to learn from Darul Qasim, Darul Hikmah, Darul Salam. All these different classes are being offered by different scholars. Go and enrich yourself with the knowledge and arm yourself so that you'll be able to combat this fitna. We do not have an option to stay silent on the sidelines and say someone else will take care of it anymore. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the tawfiq in this year to make a great change in overcoming this. And inshallah, we will be able to overcome it with the fadl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa akhiru da'wana, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen.